Hey everybody, it's Josh with the Firearm Convention. Coming to you today about the 350 Legend. It's that new round come out by Winchester in 2019 SHOT Show. So I've been seeing a lot of posts about this on Facebook. In fact, I created a group, the 350 Legend Guild, where we're discussing everything. As things come out, we're posting it up there. If you like, I'll put a link in the description. Join up the discussion down there, and let me know what you think. Even if you're just academically interested, you're not even sure if you're ever going to get one. Come on in and enjoy the fun. And also our sister group, the Firearm Convention. Join there as well. We don't get anything for it. It's just another place to BS with friends, like-minded individuals. But anyway, let's get into the 350 Legend versus 450 Bushmaster. I'm seeing it on Facebook every time somebody posts this on one of the Michigan gun groups, one of the Ohio gun groups, one of the, any gun group. I'm getting the 350 Legend versus 450 Bushmaster. And I'm not personally get it, but I'm reading it all the time, So let's start out with how let's verse them out. How are they similar? Well, the trajectory is very similar. That's 250 yards. The 350 Legend is going to have, a higher feet per second rating. I think it's at 2450 with a 150 grain bullet. The 180s are probably going to come in around 2200. And the 265s, which are subsonics, are going to be coming in at 1050. Now the 450 Bushmaster only has commercially available one bullet. Okay, I've done videos on this. You can get all the kinds of bullets you want. It's a lot like the Model T Ford. You can get any color you want as long as it's black. And the 450, you can get any grain weight bullet you want as long as it's 250 grains. So the 450 Bushmaster is bringing more bullet to the table. It always will. It's a 45 versus 35. There's literally, a tenth of an inch bigger bullet in diameter. So the 450 is always going to bring more foot-pounds of energy to the table as well. That being said, we shouldn't be comparing the two. I'm seeing, the 20 gauge slug gun, the Hornady SST load, is identical to the 450 Bushmaster without a shotgun hull. Okay, they're basically the same thing. One is in a brass case, the other one's in a plastic hull. The 350 has a powder capacity estimated right now of 20 to 25 grains. The 450 has a powder capacity, depending on what you hand load it with, between 35 and 45 grains. And that's both going to be H110, W296, something like that. So the 450 Bushmaster's twist rate is between 1 in 28 and 1 in 32. That depends on your barrel manufacturer. Like Bear Creek Arsenal, I believe, is 1 in 28. But I do believe that Bushmaster was a 1 in 32. The 350 is going to come in at 1 in 16. More on that in a little bit. So I can't say it enough, but the 350 is not meant to replace a 450 Bushmaster. It's just not. It's filling a niche, and that is, there's a huge section of the United States, Ohio, parts of Michigan, Illinois, Idaho, all these Midwestern states that are restricted to a straight wall case, meaning the case can have no neck to it. There can be no bottlenecking. So that's what it's for, primarily. It's designed, in my opinion, to be a lighter recoil option for kids, or women, or those that are recoil sensitive. That's just kind of where it sits. It's more comparable to a 35 Remington. If we want to compare it to something, let's compare it to something that's kind of in the same ballpark, and that's a 35 Remington. I grew up as a kid shooting a 35 Remington. My great-great-grandfather shot a 35 Remington his entire life in a Remington 141. My grandfather shot that same 35 Remington and bought one of his own later on, to keep that other one as a keepsake. These cartridges do really well. 200 grain bullets at 2,000 to 2,150 feet per second. That's their bailiwick. That's where they like to run. That's about where this 350 is going to come in at. So now that we're comparing it to the 35 Remington, let me get in on a little tangent here about effectiveness. I'm seeing a lot of people going, well, I'm not having to track anything with my 450. I'm not seeing the energy numbers of the 450. I'm not seeing, the knockdown power. Well, guys, when I was a kid, with my grandfather, we'd shoot a deer, or he would, I'd be with him. He'd shoot a deer with his 35. And as long as it wasn't raining or getting dark, we didn't go chasing it right away. It was quite simply well, son, we got the deer. Let's have lunch. Let's have a couple cups of coffee. We let that deer go and die. Okay? So we've kind of gotten away from that in modern hunting. We've been spoiled by all these YouTube videos of professional hunters, trophy hunters, people that promote hunting, showing you perfect kills every time. Deer drops like that. That doesn't happen in the real world, okay? That's just what they wanted to show you on the video. So we got a lot of hunters out there that are using these fast modern cartridges, which are awesome. I'm a fast modern cartridge kind of guy. But they're using these cartridges, and they're getting these instant kills. They're getting these, where deer just go 10 feet if they go anywhere, and they're dead. But these more sedate cartridges, these intermediate cartridges, the 7.62x39, the 30-30, 35 Remington, 730 Waters, these intermediate cartridges that don't quite bring the hydrostatic shock of the bigger rounds. We need to treat them kind of like a bow or like a muzzleloader. And I'm not talking about power belt muzzleloader. I'm talking about, like, if you're living in Pennsylvania like myself, round ball, flintlock stuff. We need to treat these cartridges more like a bow. Sit down, relax, enjoy the woods, because the work's going to start. So, the 350 and the 35 Remington, they don't really need that crazy amount of energy to do their job. They're going to deliver a 180 to 200 grain bullet on target, and they're going to pass through your animal. Unless you're going to do a Texas hard shot, you're going to get a pass through with these slower moving bullets. It's a proven fact that a slower moving bullet that's heavier and longer and larger in diameter will give you deeper penetration. Okay? That's fact. So, what makes the 350 Legend, the cool thing? It is going to be, in my opinion, the 300 blackout for the states that don't allow 300 blackout to hunt with. If you're a 300 blackout fan and you're looking at this 350 Legend and you're not calling it what it is, which is better as far as any kind of bullet weight at supersonic speed, or even subs. Right now on the 350 Legend Guild, we're working closely with Maker Bullets, Excalibur barrels. Maker's going to be bringing out a 275 plus, maybe 280 some odd grain bullet for his expanding subsonics. Me and him's talked. He's expecting 1 1/4 inches worth of expansion to 1 3/8 inches worth of expansion. Think about that, guys. That's expandable mechanical broadhead expansion. And, he's talking penetration between 22 and 24 inches with a subsonic bullet. You're not getting that with a blackout, even with Maker. You're not. There's nothing you can do that can make up for bullet diameter and bullet weight. So, it will be a more effective subsonic hunter. Like I said, we're working with Excalibur barrels to get them the proper tooling, work with them to get the tooling to make a fast twist barrel. Because, and kind of segue into this, the standard twist rate for the 350 Legend is 1 in 16, which doesn't really work for the nice long all copper subsonics we want to do. So this is going to be the 300 blackout for the straight wall case guys, for those states that require them to use it. It's shooting heavier bullets a little bit faster, and the subsonics are going to be heavier and more effective. And I say more effective because, Maker makes great bullets, but, they're not the cheapest bullet on the market. They still have to be made on a CNC lathe. They are expensive. So even with your subsonic loadings, if you were interested in shooting subs out of, say, a bolt gun, if you're shooting subs out of a bolt gun, we can use, any 180 grain, like Hornady XTP, the 357 Magnum bullets. They're designed for that velocity, and they will work. We can use, and somebody might jump me on this. I can already hear the 300 blackout guys, screeching at me already. Well, this ain't going to be any better, But what I'm thinking is, you'll be able to use a Barry's plated bullet if you wanted to. They have a hollow point bullet in the 35 caliber. And a plated bullet is a pure lead core that's been swaged into form. And then it's coated with copper all over. And this copper is about as thick as Dollar General aluminum foil. Very thin, okay? Very thin stuff. These bullets are going to mash, they're going to flatten, and they're going to penetrate. So there is that. Also, in Texas, Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, Florida, North Carolina, all these states that are overrun with pigs, I think are going to take on this 350 Legend pretty good, because it's going to do what the 300 blackout does, but it's going to give you a larger diameter bullet starting out. It's going to give you more energy on target. It's going to give you more bullet weight. Larger expansion with supersonics. I think a lot of guys are going to, at least, you've got hunters in the South with pig problems that are going to, flock to this caliber, I believe. Like I said, it does what the 300 blackout does, but it brings all the good stuff to the table. Like I said, it brings, more energy. It brings, heavier bullets, and it's going to work with the subs pretty darn good. So another misconception about the 350 Legend that I'm seeing a lot on Facebook is that it's just a blown out 5.56 case. That's not true. It is not a blown out 5.56 case. It is a modified rebated rim design. And what that means is it has a 3/7/8 inch diameter rim, 0.378, which is standard 5.56. But the case head right in front of that is 0.390, 12 thousandths larger. It will not be compatible with 223 brass to make your own. I know hand loaders, that upsets me, and I actually was upset about that. But it is what it is. The 223 basic brass from Starline will also not work. So I do feel that we're going to see Starline make this brass pretty early on, because it's not a far stretch from 223 to make. So, hold out for the Starline brass. It has a case length, not overall length, but case length of 1.710 inches. It tapers from 390 at the case head down to 378 at the case mouth. It'll shoot a .357 caliber bullet. So it's going to shoot the same bullet as your .357 Magnums, your .38 Specials. Okay? But here's a little caveat. Here's a caveat to that. It has a bore diameter of 346 by 355. What I mean by that is 346 is the hole through the bore. But 355 is the diameter, including the space between the riflings. So 355 bore is the same as a 9x19. So this thing has a throat that starts at 357.5. Like I said, I've got the reamer print, got it from Winchester. I can't release it yet. I'm waiting to release the reamer print, for the group, 350 Legend Guild. I've released the case specs on that group. If you want to see what Winchester released for that, so you can verify everything I'm saying, just come join. But the reamer print, the chamber dimensions, I can't release that until a later date. And I've talked to them about that. They've told me when. I can't release it yet. So the bore is going to be a 9mm bore. So that's actually really smart. The throat looks a lot like a revolver. Okay, if you can picture a revolver, if you know anything about revolvers, you've got the cylinder with your chambers in it, and then you've got that free bore in front of your bullet. Okay, that's supposed to be the largest diameter. It's supposed to look like a funnel, biggest hole to the smallest hole going away from the chamber. So what we have is basically the exact same thing, only in one barrel. We have a 357.5 diameter throat that's 0.1 inches long. It tapers down over about 1/8 of an inch from 357.5 to 355. What this does is it allows you, the hand loader, to load a 357 diameter bullet. Or, if you want to plink and have a fun day at the range, 115 grain bullets, them Full Metal Jacket round noses, 124s, 147s, all those bullet weights and jacketed from the 9mm are going to be capable of being loaded in this cartridge and be accurate. Now, I'm pretty sure Winchester didn't do that for us hand loaders. My reasoning for that, I believe, is they want this cartridge adopted because they want to sell the ammunition. And when they're adopting, they want AR barrel manufacturers to adopt this cartridge quick. If they were to have picked a 357 diameter bore, every barrel manufacturer would have had to go buy 357 blanks. What they did instead was made a throat shape that allowed them to burn bullets through that smaller bore. Don't worry, this has been done before with the Ruger Mini 30 and the 7.62x39. They made a throat to where the 310, 311 bullets were swaged down in the throat and ran through a 308 bore. And that's so they didn't have to stock a special size barrel. So, like I was saying, you're going to get to be able to shoot, these 357s and 358s, okay? You've got 180 and 200 grain, 180 or 200 grain nozzler AccuBond. That's 358. Spitzer boat tail. You've got the 200 grain FTXs. You've got 220 grain round noses. You've got a lot of bullets in the 358 neighborhood. Now, how are you going to fit those in a 357.5 throat? Run them through a Lee sizer. Put a little Hornady one shot in there, a little bit of lanolin case lube. Do what you got to do to get them lubed up. Not a lot. And run these jacketed bullets through a Lee cast bullet sizer. That'll drop them down 357. And as long as they're 357, If it fits, it chips. It's going to go out the end of the barrel, and it's going to be okay. But anyway, getting back to the barrels for the barrel manufacturers, they made it to where every barrel manufacturer, and there's a lot of them that make AR barrels. I mean, think of all the guys that make AR barrels. We got Ballistic Advantage, we got Faxon, Excalibur, Green Mountain, CMMG. Think of all these people. Now think of all these same people, even Bear Creek Arsenal. As much as I say that their stuff's okay, it's middle low into the road. They are pretty proactive about new calibers. They can grab their 9mm barrel blanks, and they can turn these blanks, because they're already making AR 9mm barrels. Look how hot the PCC is right now at 9mm. Every manufacturer is making a 9mm AR barrel. To make a 350 Legend barrel, all they got to do is run a 350 Legend reamer through the barrel and turn on a gas port and drill the gas port hole. That's it. That's all they got to do extra. Everything else is going to be the same as a 9mm. Mostly. I mean, you're going to have to put a real barrel extension on it, and all that fun stuff. But yeah, whatever. So, speaking of which, it's coming out in Winchester's bolt gun. Any bolt action in 223 Remington, 300 Blackout, 222 will be able to have a barrel swap. It's going to be that simple. Barrel swap, headspace it, it's done. So any 223 you got laying around the house you're not using, if you're really interested in this, you'll be able to do a barrel swap pretty quick and easy. And same with your AR-15s. Now your AR-15s, you're going to have to run, a gas tube and a gas block as well, okay? But it's a barrel swap. Your bolts will work, your uppers will work. No modification of the upper, no modification of your bolt carrier group, no fancy stuff. It's literally a barrel swap. But now that we're on with the ARs, there are some magazine deals that we have to work with here. You're going to have to use either Lancer L5s. I believe that's the one that works with the 300 Blackout fairly well. The Lancer L5s, or the 300 Black PMags. Now everybody in the 300 Blackout world has been like, what was Magpul thinking when they brought out these 300 Blackout PMags? Now what these two magazines did was remove that rib on each side of the magwell that's shown on, that's for a 5.56. It helps keep the 5.56 projectile straight in the magazine. Well, when you're loading long subsonics in a 300 Blackout, those ribs do pigeon toe the rounds. So a lot of guys were just modifying regular 223 mags and running those. You will need to do that with the 350 Legend. Either modify your PMags you have now, or get the Lancer L5s or the 300 Blackout PMags, 300 Blackout specific PMags. We're working on pistol barrels with the fast twist. Right now, we're not sure if the subsonics that we're going to be developing is going to need a pistol length gas system or a rifle length gas, or not rifle, carbine length gas system. So when we start with a group buy on barrels, all the initial barrels are going to come with a pistol gas system. Now we know that they're going to function. If we have to cut gas back, that's really simple. Do a gas block, an adjustable gas block, we're done. So that's basically it right now, guys. I mean, there's a lot of information out there. Our group is really proactive about this. CMMG said they're having barrels come out at the end of first quarter, so that's into March. So you're going to see barrels if you can wait that long. I didn't talk about ammunition from Winchester. I forgot about that. Winchester ammunition for the 145 grain full metal jacket target stuff is going to be between $8.99 and $9.99 a box on the shelf. I got that straight from Winchester Ammunition. So it's going to be very comparable to 5.56. That's one thing I can say. If you want to compare the 350 Legend to the 450 Bushmaster, 450 Bushmaster, on the midsummer, you can get their ammunition on Brownells for $24 a box on sale. During deer season, though, it goes up to about $30 a box, $28.99, $29.99, depending on where you get it. I would try and compare a 450 Bushmaster ammunition to, like a target load to, the 350 Legend target load, but guess what? There's not a 450 Bushmaster target load. You want to shoot 450 Bushmaster, you can shoot 450 Bushmaster. That's their hunting ammunition. I mean, that's it. So the practice ammunition for the 350 Legend is going to be $9 to $10 a box. The hunting ammunition, the 150s, is going to be right in that $21, $22 a box neighborhood. So right at $1 a shot. Then later on down the road, they're focusing on the 145s and the 150s right now. That's what they're focusing on. Later on down the road, they're going to have a couple more options. They're going to have a 180 grain cup and core, which is just designed for mostly deer hunters, right? I mean, if you want something a little bit heavier than 150s, because me personally, if I'm shooting at 35, if I'm not shooting at least a 180 grain bullet, I'm really not getting the benefit of a 35 caliber. That's my opinion. It's not fact. I believe the 150s and the 145s were created. The 145s has a purpose. They're a practice round. I believe the 150s were created just so that they could tag that monkey ear of world's fastest straight wall case. I believe that was a PR stunt. And as violent as the deer season XPs are in every other caliber, I'm not really certain that I want to be shooting those out of this 350 Legend. That's just personal opinion. But they're going to have 180 grain cup and core, marketed towards deer hunters. They're going to have 180 grain bonded, which is marketed towards the hog hunter, folk. I mean, they already know that the hog hunter guys are going to jump on this. And then you've got the 265 grain suppressed ammunition. Super suppressed is what I think they call it. I don't know how you super suppress something, but that's what they're calling it. That's going to run 1,050 feet per second, 265 grain bonded hollow point. All the 180s, I'm pretty sure, are hollow point. There's nothing tipped. Like I said, all that ammunition, though, is going to run you in the neighborhood of, I believe it's $22 a box for the hunting stuff. I'm sure your bonded is probably going to be closer to 23 or so, just because it's bonded ammunition. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was told with Winchester. Oh, release date on the ammunition. The ammunition release date is the end of February, the beginning of March. So the ammunition's coming out now. It's coming out soon. So guys, if you're jumping on AR-15 barrels right now, or you're getting ready to spin up that lathe, throw a new barrel on your Remington 700 or your Savage or whatever, you get ready, because it's coming. Honestly, I think if Ruger doesn't come out with this cartridge in their American Ranch line that already takes AR-15 magazines, I think they're nuts if they don't do it. Let's face it, that American Ranch is a very popular rifle in 450 Bushmaster, and I believe that they will come out with it at some point. I just don't know if they're going to jump on it right away. I know that it's really marketed towards the AR crowd as well. Winchester doesn't do AR-15s, okay? But they partnered with CMMG, and this happened long before SHOT Show because CMMG had a functioning firearm at SHOT to get an AR-15 on market. So they're doing I think it's the XPR bolt gun, and CMMG's doing their AR-15. Guys like me, I'm going to be building one. I don't feel like, paying over $1,000 for an AR-15, And I mean, they're going to be worth the money if you don't feel like building one. But me personally, I'd rather take that extra money I'm giving them to put it together for me and put it together myself. Just because if there's a quality problem, I'm the guy at fault. Okay. So anyway, that's about all there is to it. That's what we got going on right now. As we get barrels, as we get brass, as we get ammunition, you're going to see myself doing a lot of testing on this round. I'm going to be trying to test out a pistol barrel, probably about 10 inches, and I'm going to test out 16-inch barrel. You're going to see this cartridge being compared to the 450 Bushmaster in a video. We're gonna compare this. Me and Johnny, he's another guy from the Firearm Convention. We're going to compare the 350 Legend and the 450 Bushmaster side by side. We'll take them out 100, 150, 200, 250, 300 yards and shoot them. We're going to compare recoil. We're going to compare accuracy. We're going to do everything we can to compare these two rounds for you, the viewer. We're going to try and get as much ammunition as we can, see what we can expect out of ammunition. As we get brass, I'll start throwing out reloads. I'll start load development on this round. I'm pretty sure we're going to get some. I think the Hodgson manual that's out now for 2019 has data in it for the 350 Legend. So if you see one of those, one of those paperback looks like a magazine, go ahead and grab one. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if it has 350 Legend ammunition. If it does, that's awesome. But it is close enough to 357 maximum that you can start low on the maximum scale and work your way up. So you can't extrapolate data. It's not something that's crazy out there, and you can't figure it out on your own. But it is best to have printed data. So, like I said, guys, stay tuned for some long range shooting with this cartridge. I know it's not supposed to be a long range gun, but we'll get it out there and get to playing with it. Stay tuned for on the bench stuff, for reloads, for what we find that works, what we find that doesn't, the oddball stuff that people might be interested in. I'm going to try the 124 grain truncated cones. I'm going to try 115 grain truncated cones, round noses, 147 grain stuff, all that stuff for the 9mm. I'm going to go ahead and shoot that. I'm going to try it out. My guess is that 115 grain round nose will plunk out the end of a barrel probably around 2,600. And if it's anything like what my 230 grain full metal jacket loads do out of a 450 Bushmaster, we're going to have some awesome straight line penetration. It's going to be cool. 450 Bushmaster will blow through a telephone pole at 100 yards with a 230 grain full metal jacket that's meant for 45 ACP, and I don't know that it slows down a whole lot. I mean, it does slow down, but it comes out the other side with authority. We're going to see the same thing with a 115 grain bullet and a 350 Legend. If you were to shoot a deer with it, and I'm not saying you should, it's full metal jacket. I don't think that's legal in any state. But if you did, I'm pretty sure you could Texas heart shoot one of them, and it would come out the brisket. I mean, they are that hard charging. They truly remind me. The 450 does anyway. Reminds me of a dangerous game rifle. I've got one, 416 Rigby, 400 grain full metal jackets. It works a lot like that. I mean, there's tons of straight line penetration, and it's just impossible to stop that bullet. But anyway, we're going to try some random stuff like that. We're going to see what it likes, what it doesn't, and go from there. So, like I said, guys, comment down below. Give us ideas of what you want to see out of the 350 Legend. What interests you in this cartridge? What videos do you want to see? Give us ideas, because we're kind of grabbing at straws, just like everybody else. So let us know what you want to see, and go ahead and give us a like, subscribe. Come visit us on the Firearm Convention. Come visit us on our sister group, 350 Legend Guild, and I'll see you next time, guys.